our job. Anoint our creativity, our ideas, and our energy so that even our smallest tasks may bring you honor. God Almighty, when we're confused, guide us. When we're weary, energize us. When we are burnt out, infuse us with light. May the work that we do and the way that we do bring hope, life, and courage to all that we come into contact with.
Let's be seated. Good morning and welcome to the Open Government and Participatory Governance Regional Dialogue. I am Ted Aldwin Ong. I represent the civil society from Western Visayas Network of Social Development NGOs, and I will be your MC for today. This is the first run in a series of dialogues and consultations that the OGP and PGC will be conducting this quarter, and we are happy that it's happening here in Bacolod. I welcome our participants from Region 6 and 7 to this dialogue. Let me first give you an overview of our activity today. We hope to achieve 5 objectives in our 2-day dialogue. It will be flashed. It is flashed in our screen to promote and disseminate information on the OGP platform, specifically the 4th National Action Plan, the Participatory Governance Clusters and Roadmap, and other participatory governance initiatives of the Duterte administration, to gather support among local stakeholders in implementing and monitoring the commitments in the 4th NAP, to consult local stakeholders on the content of the PGC roadmap, and to provide an avenue for dialogue among LGUs and local CSOs on developing sub-national OGP commitments and plans, and to raise awareness on the 2018 national budget and the comprehensive tax reform package. Let me acknowledge the OGP and PGC team who collaborated and conceptualized this dialogue. They are scattered in this hall. From the government, we have from the Department of Budget and Management. We also have from the Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Finance, the Presidential Communications Operations Office, and the Office of the Cabinet Secretary. From the non-government, we have our partners from the CSOs, Caucus of Development NGO Networks, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Galing Pook Foundation. And of course, we thank our development partner for their support in making this forum possible, from the USAID Facilitating Public Investment Project. As you can see in our banner, our activity is dubbed as Open Government and Participatory Governance Dialogue. So we hope that everyone will engage in constructive dialogue in this 2-day event. I am happy with the diversity of sectors. Some CSOs have been here since yesterday. And they are attending this dialogue today. We have representatives of the national government, local government units. We have local government executives and representatives from the regional offices of national government agencies. We also have from the academe, business groups, and public sector unions. So we look forward to exciting and fruitful discussions in this two-day event. As you know, Bacolod City is the city of smiles. So because we are Ilonggos, sa hambal nila, bawal ang nakasimangot. So we need to smile. Kaya we'll have messages from our host province and city to start this program. So may we call on Ms. Lucille T. Helvolea, Acting Provincial Administrator, to give the message in behalf of Governor Alfredo Marañon Jr. May we give a round of applause to Ms. Lucille Helvolea.
Thank you. Yusik Panadero, my partner, City Administrator, Attorney Orola, Attorney Noida, our friends from USAID, and all other national government agencies supporting this activity. I would like to read to you the message of our Governor, Honorable Alfredo G. Marañon Jr. He is also in another activity today out of town, but he wishes everyone the best. So, delegates, guests, friends attending today's activity, a pleasant day to all of you. On behalf of the provincial government, I would like to thank the men and women of the Department of Budget and Management, the Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Finance, the United States Agency for International Development, and all the people behind this project. We are truly happy that you have chosen our province to be the venue of this Participatory Governance Cluster, Philippine Open Government Partnership Regional Dialogues 2018. We are looking forward that these three-day dialogues will be beneficial learning experience to all our local government units, including their executives, officials, and employees, and also the NGOs and CSOs, as we tackle the various pressing issues on governance that confront our country today. We are optimistic that the additional knowledge and understanding we will gain from this activity will bring about enhanced performance from our LGUs, thereby doing our share in helping and supporting the national government to achieve its goals to enhance citizen participation in all government processes and build the capacities of the LGUs under its Participatory Governance Cluster program. Among the important issues lined up to be tackled in this dialogue, we are especially intent in paying attention to the discussion on raising awareness on the 2018 national budget and the proposed tax reform package, as this is now affecting majority of our people. We are hoping that we can come up with a simple and understandable picture of this program for the benefit of our people. We hope for the success of this undertaking. Thank you and good day to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Lucille Helvolea. At this point, may we call on Attorney John Orola, City Administrator, who will give the message in behalf of Mayor Evilio Leonardea.
Let me first greet each and every one of you a very pleasant morning. I agree with our Master of Ceremonies that when you are in Bacolod, you've got to smile. This is the city of smiles. I always see to it that our employees at the new government center, especially at the lobby now where we have a 2-month one-stop shop, everybody should wear a smile. If you cannot smile, I have to force you to smile. In the same manner that I always see to it that our department stores in Bacolod City, big malls, their employees, their sales force should also smile. So again, welcome to the City of Smiles. Welcome to Bacolod City, the home of the Mascara Festival. And welcome to Bacolod City, the sugar capital of the Philippines. And it still is. Let me greet our Undersecretary of DILG and Undersecretary Austria Panadero, and also the regional directors of Region 6 and Region 6, Attorney Anthony Nueda, and also the regional director of Region 7, Mr. Rene Bordios, and also my partner in the province of Negros, Lucille. And let me also greet all the delegates, and especially those representing the DILG, DBM, Department of Finance, and of course the Office of the President, and then the Cabinet, the cluster of the Cabinet Secretaries. And to all our participants, especially business sector and NGOs from Negros Occidental and other regions, we are truly happy that we all converge here today in order to meet and discuss pressing problems and issues that affect the relationship between the private sector and the business sector. This is an opportune time for us to get together, especially that you are all bringing various issues relevant to the participation of the government sector vis-a-vis with that of the private sector. This three-day dialogue, which I understand, the topic is an open government and participatory governance, regional dialogues. I understand that has been going on for the past 2 years or 3 years. This is a very important direction that the local government, and through the initiative of the department, of the various departments involved, because this is one way of bringing us together, the involvement of the business sector, the private sector, the NGOs, on how it can relate its functions and its objectives with the various national agencies involved. In so many cases, there are always conflicting operational procedures, especially on matters related to fiscal and reform packages that we intend to come up in order that we can really address the pressing issues of the different departments. This three-day dialogue will be open. It will be an open dialogue. The open dialogue in which the participants are open to various issues that are being brought to them by the various delegations. So we're happy that Region 6 are also Region 6 is participating, as well as Region 7. In my experience, having been with the government for the past many years, I started with the Department of Tourism in 1975, and I became a congressman in I became the tourism attaché in Japan, USA, in 1979 all the way up to 1990. And now, I became congressman for Bacolod City in 1998 up to 2000. I accepted the job to be a city administrator because I believe that my experience working with the government had to be shared, especially to the city of Bacolod. That the job is so enormous, and knowing being a city administrator, I'm the one. If the mayor is not around, and of course under the direction of the mayor, I've got really to see to it that every issues affecting the city of Bacolod, the people of Bacolod, had to be properly addressed. So from traffic, informal settlers, fiscal situation, as well as the budget had to be properly addressed. And I can see the enormous problems that had been affecting the operations of the local government vis-a-vis of that of the national government. So this forum will address, hopefully, the issues concerned. And with the presence of our representatives of various agencies, and that includes, which I would like also to welcome, the beautiful young lady from the USAID, Miss Jenna Jalio, which would like to welcome you to Bacolod. I hope that we can bring all these issues together. Now, as you all know, that the city of Bacolod, well, it is the capital of Negros Occidental. We've got to be really in the forefront. At present, as you all know, which I have to inform you earlier, that this is the year in which we celebrate our 80th year anniversary. And we want that there will be monthly activities to be done starting January all the way down to December. We are prepared that all these activities should be participated by both the government as well as the business sector, the private sector, the NGOs, and the civic organizations. From cultural activities to economic missions, labor missions, trade missions, and involvement of other countries in order that we can catapult the image of Bacolod to the world. So we invite you in particular to these activities. I may not be able to mention this to you now because it is a length. These activities will be from January all the way down to December. There are so many of this that this had to be properly presented to the public. But in the meantime, as you are having your conference today, the mayor has extended his welcome, though he wanted really to be here, but because of his previous engagement, he cannot make it, although he said that he will try to catch up in order to meet the delegation, especially the Undersecretary and ASIC Chris Ablan and ASIC Marlon Broto, and all the other members of the delegation. And of course, especially the participating business and private sector. I hope and I wish you all the best, especially in the attainment of the objectives of this forum. The open government and participatory governance regional dialogues. Transparency is the issue of the day, especially in matters of governance. To all of you, good morning.
Thank you, Attorney John Orola. At this point, we'd like to call our keynote speaker. In behalf of Secretary Benjamin Jokno of the Department of Budget and Management and Chair of the Open Government Partnership Steering Committee, we are privileged to have with us the Undersecretary for Local Government of the Department of Interior and Local Government. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming. A round of applause, please, to Undersecretary Auster Panadero.
Mayong aga sa atong tanan, mayong buntag sa atong mga participants gikan sa Region 7. First of all, I'd like to thank our si Ma'am Lucille and Administrator Jan for the warm welcome. Please convey our thanks to the Governor and the Mayor as well. Thank you for reminding us that this is the City of Smiles and this is the sugar capital of the Republic. So, matam-is nga yuhom ang ari diri sa, sa Bacolod. So, for our guest, smile in dialect yuhom. Sweet, because this is the sugar capital, is matam-is. The sweetest smile in the Republic is here. Okay, first of all, damo gid nga salamat sa inyong pag-abot kag pag-participate and diri sa aton meeting today. But let me probably acknowledge the groups. So can I just see the hands of the representatives from Region 7? Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to Bacolod. Okay. And of course, those who are not raising their hands are from Region 6. Okay. Maramo gid nga salamat sa inyo man nga pagkari. Today, we are fortunate to have also with us some local leaders, and let me take time to recognize some of them. We're fortunate to have the mayors or 6 mayors from Region 7, the mayor of Alicia Bohol, Mayor Ayuban, yeah. The mayor of Duero Bohol, welcome to Bacolod, the mayor of and Mayor Amparo, the mayor of Tubigon Bohol, Mayor How, the mayor of Tudela Cebu, Mayor Yu, and the mayor of Sugod, Mayor Strigan, I think is, and the mayor of Sambuan, Cebu, Mayor Calderon. Okay. And the mayor from Region 6, the mayor of Tanggalan, Aklan. Tangalan. Hindi tinanggal, ha? Tangalan. Mas madamo ang halin sa Region 7. Muguro na, kung malayo, may damo. Ang malapit, jutay lang kakaabot. And the representatives, of course, from our line agencies here, the DBM Region 6, RD Chua. Yes, ma'am. The mayor of the DBM Region 7, RD Carmela Fernan, is also with us, so the DBM. The NAPSI Director, National Anti-Poverty Commission po, Director Ferdinand Hombre Bueno. Morning. The Senior Vice President of Pag-ibig in Region, siguro Region 6 is also with us. And the Deputy Executive Director, Office of Economic Development, our guest also, Ms. Diallo. Welcome, ma'am, to the Bacolod. Ladies and gentlemen, we're really glad that you're all here to jumpstart this discussion between government and civil society and the private sector on what Congressman and City Administrator Orola mentioned, the issue on transparency in governance. And that is really a very important concern. In fact, the Cabinet has organized a cluster called Participatory Governance Cluster to just focus on this. And today, we're joined also by other national agencies that are tasked to shepherd the work on this particular sector. And let me introduce to you the Assistant Secretary Marlon Bruto of the Office of the Cabinet Secretary. Ang ating Office of Cabinet Secretary, may isang unit pa doon called Office of Participatory Governance, just to make sure that that particular concern is really given a dedicated attention. And of course, let me likewise acknowledge the Assistant Secretary Christian Ablan of the Presidential Communications Operations Office. So together, these line agencies and the Department of the Interior and Local Government and DBM, and I think Department of Finance tomorrow, will be with you and to discuss the issues that we will all collectively chart the course as we move forward. So today, I was given the task to convey to you the official message of Secretary Ben Jokno, who is the chair of the OGP Steering Committee, as well as the Secretary of the Interior and Local Government, who also likewise co-chairs the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet. So ito po yung aking gagampanang katungkulan sa umagang ito. So ito yung mensahe po ng ating co-chairs. To Ms. Jenna Diallo, the Deputy Director for Economic Development, USAID, United States Agency for International Development, Philippines, co-workers in the national and local government, members of the civil society organizations, POs, business groups, and media and the academe. Good morning. The Secretary continues. In behalf of the Chairman of the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet, the DILG, Secretary Eduardo Año, and the DBM, I'm pleased to welcome you to the kick-off run of the Open Government and Participatory Governance Regional Dialogues. This is the first of a series of our town halls and serious conversations with citizens on key priority programs of government. Emboldened by the promise of real change, the Filipino people elected the country's first Mindanaoan president. Rodrigo Roa Duterte. For the first time in a long time, Filipinos have voted for someone from the periphery to become the 16th president of our republic last May 2016. Coming from Mindanao and from his decades-long local government experience, the president knows what it is like to be set aside, to call for help only to be unanswered, and he knows what it is like to get left behind. So now, we have a strong president who vows to ensure that his promise of real change will be largely felt by all Filipinos all over the world. But to make this happen, he also knows that working with the people is an imperative. Given the sheer extent of corruption and red tape in the bureaucracy, we know that changing how the government works would not be possible without the effective mobilization of civil society and sustained demand from the public, from the very citizens that we are held accountable to. And so, in May 2017, the President signed Executive Order number 24 that reorganized the cabinet cluster system and created the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet, or PGC. He also created the Office of Participatory Governance under the Office of the Cabinet Secretary through EO number 9. And because we're now under an administration that truly recognizes the value of citizens' engagement in governance, we are also sustaining our strong international commitment to making the government more transparent, accountable, and participatory through the Open Government Partnership, or the OGP platform. Through these new and continuing citizens' engagement programs, we are making sure that governance is not limited to government alone. We open up government, provide that citizens sit in the policy table, and give them a legitimate say and vote in what the government does and plans to do moving forward. Today is yet another milestone in the way that we practice what we preach in the PGC and in the OGP. With a joint effort of national government, local government, civil society, business sector, and with the support from USAID as our main development partner, we organize this series of dialogues that will set out to present the various participatory governance initiatives of the Duterte administration and encourage more citizens to help us in the implementation and monitoring of these programs. We also wish to consult various stakeholders on the proposed new initiatives to be included in the Participatory Governance Cluster Roadmap 2017 to 2022. We aim to develop a roadmap that highlights the inclusion and strengthening of the push for sectoral policies and program goals that will directly impact on the lives of the Filipinos at the grassroots. We believe that the impact of any government undertaking will be more completely felt by citizens if we also broaden the focus of participatory governance towards access to and delivery of basic public services in the most effective and less bureaucratic way. There's also a need to engage key actors beyond the central government and towards subnational government. So later on, we will also explore how to effectively localize open and participatory governance as we discuss our plans to improve local governance and feature selected best practices on open government that are being spearheaded by some of our most progressive local chief executives. Tomorrow, we'll also learn more about our national budget for 2018, the budget reform bill, and the tax reform program of government. So our next 2 days will be packed with interesting sessions and exchanges. And so I would also like to take this opportunity to ask for your active engagement in this undertaking. Through this forum, we hope you can help us set the direction and narrative of participatory governance in the Philippines. Let our voices be heard and be at the front line of public sector reform work. Be part of the change you want. The Duterte administration is seriously committed to expanding our citizens' engagement work, and we are very much looking forward to having deeper conversations and reflections with you on this through more of the sessions slated in the next 2 days that we will all be together. All sectors are represented in this hall, from national and local government to civil society, academia, public sector unions, business groups, and the media. Having said this, I urge you to network and get to know each other better. For many of us who are not new to this kind of work, let's continue the constructive engagement with each other. Continue mobilizing, continue being part of government and pushing government to change. Let's keep the pressure on. It is a gargantuan task because we are being asked to do things that we've never done before, to go beyond business as usual. But together, we are a strong force. I think with our shared goals and our heart for public service, we can truly push for real and genuine change to happen in the country. Thank you very much, and we will have a fruitful dialogue with you. End of the message of the co-chairs, Secretary Jokno and Secretary Anyo. Maraming salamat po. Madamo gid nga salamat.
Thank you, Yusek Panadero. Now let us hear from our development partner for their message of support. Our next speaker is the Deputy Director of the Office of Economic Development and Governance at USAID Philippines. She has 20 years of experience in international development, previously as the Regional Field Investment Officer for West Africa from 2013 to 2017. She developed private sector partnerships for investment in resilience programs in the Sahel. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Jenna Diallo.
Undersecretary Panadero, Assistant Secretary Ablan, Assistant Secretary Broto, Regional Director Niida, Attorney Orola, local chief executives, partners from the national government, local government, civil society, private sector, and academia, members of the Philippines Open Government Partnership Steering Committee, partners and fellow advocates of open government and fiscal transparency. Maayong aga sa inyo nga tanan. Good morning. I'm here representing the United States Agency for International Development, commonly known as USAID. USAID is the lead U.S. government agency that works to end global poverty and enable democratic, resilient societies to realize their potential. I bring you the greetings of the U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, the Honorable Sung Kim. As you know, both the United States and the Philippines are founding members of the Open Government Partnership. From 8 countries in 2011, it has grown rapidly to 75 members this year. This reflects the global trend toward greater openness, transparency, civic participation, and democratic governance. Open government is a social contract between the government and the people. It is not a privilege, but a right of its citizens. Our resolve to promote a government that works for its citizens is crucial in advancing toward our mutually shared goals of inclusive growth and effective governance. It is encouraging to see the Philippines fully committed to an open, responsive, and engaging government. This is demonstrated by a number of open government reforms that your government has put in place after a year in office, including Executive Order Number 2, which operationalizes the people's right to public information. Executive Order Number 6, institutionalizing the Citizens Complaints Hotline 8888 to encourage the public to serve as a check on improper actions by government officials and employees. Executive Order Number 9, which created the Office of Participatory Governance to promote direct participation of stakeholders in policymaking and program implementation at the grassroots level. And Executive Order Number 24, which established the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet to enhance citizen participation in all government processes. Likewise, the Philippines has welcomed the new year with an economic milestone, the passage of the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion, or TRAIN Act. This too was the product of thoughtful consultations with various stakeholders throughout the country through the regional OGP dialogues. These tax reforms are expected to generate an additional 130 billion Philippine pesos annually, boosting the Philippine government's capacity to fund infrastructure and other public investments that will improve the quality of life for your citizens. This is the very essence of the Open Government Partnership. Government actively engaging the public in crafting policies that improve living standards in the country. We at USAID are humbled and delighted as your development partner as we bring together stakeholders to openly discuss policy measures that will have far-reaching impact on the Philippines economy and the lives of Filipinos. USAID remains committed to working with your government in sustaining inclusive growth. We've been honored to work with the Department of Finance and the Department of Budget and Management to boost fiscal performance, improve public expenditure management, and foster greater fiscal transparency. We commend and support the Philippine government as you engage your citizens and build coalitions among stakeholders as we work together toward the completion of the comprehensive tax reform package. Our continued support for the Philippines Open Government Partnership and the Philippines Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative exemplifies the United States' commitment to transparent and participatory governance. USAID works worldwide to build open, responsive, and responsible institutions and processes that serve the needs and preferences of the public. We look forward to walking alongside our Philippine government counterparts as we collectively pursue a transformative agenda toward more ambitious, receptive, accountable, and people-centric governance. Damong nga salamat sa tanan. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Ms. Jenna Diallo. We are now inching into the content input of this two-day dialogue. So some of you may have attended past OGP activities, while for others it might be the first time to hear this acronym. A lot of us may be wondering what are the functions of the Participatory Governance Cluster. To enlighten us on these platforms and government initiatives, let me call on the speaker of our first session. She is the Philippines' point of contact of the Open Government Partnership and the technical lead of the Participatory Governance Cluster Secretariat lodged at the Department of Budget and Management. Join me in a round of applause, please, to Ms. Marian Fabian.
Ayan, hello! Good morning po! Ayan, masayang-masaya po yung morning ko. I'm very glad to announce that the Open Budget Survey 2017 results just came out. So this is a global survey on budget transparencies across more than 100 countries. And from last round's score of 64, we are now 3 notches up. We are now 67, and we are considered to be the most transparent country in terms of fiscal openness in Asia. So, palakpakan naman po dyan. So, it's a really great news and what a way to start our morning today. So now, my task po is to provide to you an overview of the Philippine Open Government Partnership and the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet, activities and mechanisms. The increase in our open budget index is part of the roadmap of the Participatory Governance Cluster from 2017 to 2022. Makikita niyo po yan sa likod sa ating gallery walk. It's also part of our international commitments to the Open Government Partnership. Now, what is the Open Government Partnership? So, to start my presentation, let me just kick off with an audiovisual presentation on the Philippine Open Government Partnership.
Countries to date. In the past 5 years, the Philippines has proven to be a leader in implementing excellent reforms towards open governance. Today, it is clear that the values of transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement are the key ingredients of President Rodrigo Duterte's governance agenda.
It is the people from whom democratic governments draw strength, and this administration is no exception. We have to listen to the murmurings of the people, fear their pulse, supply their needs, and fortify their faith and trust in us whom they elected to public office.
The Philippine Development Plan under President Duterte's administration aims to lay the foundation for matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay for all Filipinos by 2040. The strategic framework rests on 3 pillars. Malasakit, for a high-trust and resilient society. Pagbabago, for more inclusive growth. And patuloy na pagunlad, for a globally competitive knowledge economy. This administration's commitment to citizen engagement is clearly demonstrated by President Duterte's executive orders on freedom of information, 8888 hotline institutionalization, creation of the Office of Participatory Governance, and the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet. In the Philippines, the OGP Steering Committee is composed of government and non-government members. After the Participatory Action Plan development process with citizens, the Open Government Partnership works in cycles of 2 years of implementing and monitoring key international government's commitments of the country. Toward the middle and the end of the cycle, the progress of the implementation are assessed, reported, and taken to heart for the next planning cycle. To date, the Philippines has gained significant ground in changing the culture of governance over the past 3 planning cycles.
As one of the 8 founding member countries of the Open Government Partnership, the Philippines has played a leading role in shaping OGP globally. And at the country level, the Philippines has had really transformative commitments on fiscal transparency and mobilizing citizen feedback, which formal oversight institutions have integrated to improve service delivery.
The 4th planning cycle has led to the crafting of the first Open Government National Action Plan under the Duterte administration. With the theme, Co-Creating Governance Outcomes with the Filipino People, it aims to expand the Open Government Partnership's reach and impact by further improving the quality of government services that directly benefit ordinary Filipinos. Under its National Action Plan 2017 to 2019, the Philippines puts forward the following international open government commitments. Strengthen civil society participation in local planning and development.
Our organization is very concerned about promoting participatory local governance. The Open Government Partnership provided a mechanism, an avenue by which we can engage further in the process of using open government data for promoting participation in local governance.
Engage communities in the fight against corruption, criminality, and illegal drugs. Improve the ease of doing business. Expand and institutionalize the citizen participatory audit. Empower citizens with a feedback mechanism on services provided by the government and government-owned or controlled corporations. Pass legislation on access to information.
It's really important when you have a transparent government where records are available to the public to scrutinize. Ordinary citizens will have access, especially with the help of technology, to understand the policies of government and to contribute to those policies. The Senate has always been firm in its commitment to support the freedom of information, I'm confident that my colleagues and I will be able to do this for the good of our country, basically, and also for us to remain accountable to the people and competitive.
Provide e-participation tools through the National Government Portal and promote its use to the whole of government. Increase transparency, integrity, and effectiveness in the management of public resources. Increase transparency and accountability in the extractive industries. Revolutionize mechanisms for evacuation and disaster response. Improve delivery of services to informal settlers and resettled families, and empower them through community organizing. And open local legislative processes through the social media and the web.
This open government partnership is a common practice here in the Philippines. In Africa, we have thousands of non-government organizations. Since the restoration of our democracy, it's provided in the law that non-government organizations will have strong participation in local governance. It's very important that non-government organization, people's organizations, should be a part in the decision-making, especially for their own communities.
We have been involved with the OGP since the first National Action Plan. But in the last year, we were able to reach out to more CSOs across the region. With our partners in government, we were able to introduce a more inclusive co-creation process, leading to better inputs and more commitments for the current National Action Plan. The story of OGP continues with constructive engagement and public service delivery as one of its core platforms. We thank all of those in government and civil society who have participated and committed to this process.
Our participation in the Open Government Partnership clearly shows that the Duterte administration is determined to deliver on our promise to listen to the people and serve them better. We spent several months crafting the new National Action Plan with our citizens from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and we are proud to have developed an action plan that is not only attuned to our development goals, but more importantly, responsive to the needs of our people. I'd like to encourage every Filipino to work hand in hand with us in government. Let's share in the responsibility of crafting and implementing these plans. Through OGP, we are promoting a culture of governance that truly works for you. Join us in this exciting journey towards making government more open and accountable.
Wow. So I hope that the presentation has piqued your interest and primed you for a quick discussion of the history, context, current status, and directions of the Open Government Partnership, and now the Participatory Governance cluster of the Cabinet. Now, in 2011 was actually a landmark year for the Philippines for laying down history for our reforms moving forward as we saw the birth of an international movement for openness. The Philippines, together with Brazil, Indonesia, Mexico, Norway, South Africa, the United Kingdom, and the United States, founded the said movement called the Open Government Partnership, or OGP. In a nutshell po, OGP is a global effort to make governments better. It aims to secure commitments on transparency, accountability. It aims to empower citizens to fight corruption and harness new technologies to strengthen governance. And parallel to the establishments of the OGP at the time in 2011, the Cabinet Cluster on Good Governance and Anti-Corruption was also created, thus confirming our country's firm commitment to building stronger public institutions that are truly open, responsive, and accountable to the people. Currently po, OGP has grown to 75 member countries. That's from 8 in 2011, representing now a third of the world's population. And to become an OGP country, hindi po siya basta-basta. We have to endorse a high-level open government declaration. We have to develop a country action plan with public consultation, co-created with citizens. And we have to commit to a third-party evaluation that we call the independent reporting mechanism. Moving forward, And as one of the 8 founding members and under the Duterte administration, the Philippines has remained firmly committed to OGP through our various commitments, and it is through these commitments to open government principles that we have been able to lay strong foundations for our current and future governance reforms. Now, I mentioned in 2011, the Cabinet Cluster on Good Governance and Anti-Corruption was created. Fast forward to the present po, and after the political transition in May 2016, it is important to note that Executive Order number 24, which was signed in May 2017, has effectively repealed EO number 43 and has reorganized the cabinet cluster system. Now, under section number 9 of that EO, good governance and anti-corruption were recognized as a cross-cutting theme. That is why it was mandated to be adopted as part of the policy frameworks of all the cabinet clusters, thus resulting to the dissolution of the good governance and anti-corruption cabinet cluster. Aside from this, the primary purpose of EO number 24 was to create 2 new cabinet clusters po, which reflect now the main thrust of the Duterte administration. So, these 2 new clusters are the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet, now co-chaired by DILG and DBM through Secretary Diokno and OIC Anyo. And the other cluster that was created was the Infrastructure Cluster, as we aim to promote and push for the Build, Build, Build program in the next 5 years. The President has consistently made it clear that he wants to restore the people's faith in government by 1, better delivery of public services, and number 2, by facilitating their active involvement in governance. This prompted the creation of the PGC, the Cabinet Cluster, and through EO number 9, the creation of the Office of Participatory Governance. I know we have members here from OPG and from the Kilusang Pagbabago. Welcome po. And the reason for this, the creation of these 2 new oversight bodies further bolstered the participatory governance, advocacy, and trust of the Duterte administration. Today, we at the OGP closely works with the Office of Participatory Governance. We're also at DBM, the Secretariat of the Participatory Governance Cluster, and we all work together in furthering our shared good governance advocacies. Okay. Now, in the Philippines po, the OGP is overseen by a multi-stakeholder group that we call the PHOGP Steering Committee. This group meets every quarter and guides the implementation and direction of OGP at the local level. The term of the members, especially the non-government members, are synchronized with the timeline of each OGP plan, which lasts 2 years. The local government units are also represented in the steering committee through the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines, or ULAP. The non-government members, on the other hand, are elected by their own sectors through a transparent and participatory process. Now, the difference of OGP with PGC po, ang composition ay cabinet members. So right now, the OGP Steering Committee acts as a consultative forum for the PGC and as a benchmark for all of our processes moving forward. Now, with the issuance naman po of EO number 24, OGP aligns itself closely with PGC as it promotes the following similar goals. So, of course, number 1, we want to enhance citizen engagement in governance. Number 2, to enable the public to understand, rationalize, and implement national government programs and projects based on area-specific realities. That's why we're also doing these regional consultations po. And of course, to strengthen consultation mechanisms to ensure effective implementation of programs and projects. And lastly, to propose policies, programs, and projects that would foster participatory governance and, of course, build the capacities of local government units for such purpose. The DBM, together with DILG, serves as the co-chair and secretariat of both OGP and PGC. And now, after the first official meeting of the Cabinet Cluster on Participatory Governance, which was held last October 2017, the initial 6-year roadmap of the cluster was approved. This roadmap is anchored on 2 key plans, key national plans, the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022 and the Philippine OGP Plan 2017 to 2019. The cluster also unanimously approved the harmonization of PGC and OGP efforts as they both pursue similar goals. So in our current setup, just like what I said earlier, the OGP platform serves as the main consultation mechanism of the PGC. Yan, ano po ba yung connect ng PGC sa PDP? PGC also subscribes and responds to Chapter 5 of the Philippine Development Plan towards achieving a people-centered, clean, and efficient delivery of public goods and services. Specifically, it is aligned with the subsector outcome on citizenry fully engaged and empowered, which endorses the promotion of participatory governance, ensuring public access to information and institutionalization of response and feedback mechanisms as strategies for better governance of government programs. Now, under the EO number 24, we are also required, all cabinet clusters are required to develop what we call the Performance and Projects Roadmap, which shall identify critical targets and annual deliverables of the cluster related to our mandated goals. So after rin po nung issuance ni EO number 24 and after the first meeting, yung key decision items from that meeting, just like what I shared earlier, is the approval of the initial roadmap, but also the approval of a process to expand the roadmap. Since the initial draft was anchored mainly on existing national plans, there is a clamor to expand and include government programs that resonate well at the grassroots level with concrete impact at the local level. So kaya po nandito rin po kami sa Bacolod, hihingin po namin ang inyong opinion at inyong mga input sa current draft at sa mga current proposed programs ng ating national government agencies under the PGC Roadmap Phase 2. Okay. So on screen po, next slide please, you will see the existing projects under the Phase 1 of the roadmap. We currently have 14 initiatives, but as the roadmap is still a working document, this list might still change after the Phase 2 development process, which we are kicking off now here in Bacolod, which will culminate on the second quarter of 2018. The expansion of the roadmap is one of the main reasons why we invited all of you here today. So I will discuss the expansion process in more detail po later on. These are also our priority legislative agenda. So we have the passage of the Budget Reform Act, the passage of an act right-sizing the national government to improve public service delivery. We also have the issuance of a concurrent joint resolution on the revised base pay schedule of our military and uniformed personnel. Nagawa na po ito. And passage of the Unified National Identification System. The People's Broadcasting Corporation Charter Bill. Of course, the passage of the Freedom of Information Bill. And the shift of the government to federalism. Now, to discuss further the development process of the Phase 2 of the roadmap, we will flesh this out after my presentation once we break out into 4 groups. So, during the same meeting on October 2017, this process was proposed and approved so the PGC can expand the roadmap to include initiatives that resonate more to citizens and have more concrete impact at the grassroots level. Pursuant to the cluster's instruction, kami po sa Secretariat have initiated and led the said process, which started with fleshing out the criteria for selection of priority initiatives to be included in the roadmap. So ito po yung criteria. Ano ba yung pwede nating isama sa roadmap? So una, of course, it should be aligned with the Duterte Administration Good Governance Agenda with the PDP, the 0+10 Socio-Economic Agenda, the OGP Plan. And it should be relevant to our good governance principles. Mamaya daanan po natin, ano-ano ba yung mga good governance values po na ito. And it should be a continuing program and should be funded, of course. And of course, the targets, the indicators should be clear, measurable, should be smart, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And of course, where possible, it should have an impact that can be directly felt. So gusto natin yung mga frontline service and lifeline services yung makita under the plan. Now, these are the good governance values that should be aligned with the initiatives under the roadmap. It should be it should have elements of transparency, citizen participation, accountability, and technology and innovation. So yan po yung mga tinitingnan natin. Now, nasaan na po tayo sa proseso? Medyo mahaba po yung process. Pa-next slide po, please. Ayan. So, we are already on the 5th stage. This is the glimpse of the process. We started with reviewing all relevant documents, all existing national plans that are related to our PGC mandate. Then we issued a call for commitments to relevant national government agencies identified from previous public consultations. Then they submitted their reports to us. Then we conducted an initial round of technical review, and now we have a draft proposed list of commitments that we will present to you later on in the breakout session. Now we're here as part of the process. We're now conducting and kicking off the stakeholder consultations. Next slide po. Ayan. So, now this process will end with the approval of the PGC roadmap by the cluster and of course the publication and launching event by the end of second quarter of 2018. The launch is designed to be a big event where all cabinet clusters, the PGC, kami po, the Economic Development Cluster, the Human Development Poverty Reduction, the Peace and Security, Rule of Law, the Environment and Climate Change Cluster, and the Infrastructure Cluster, sabay-sabay po, maglo-launch po kami ng sarili-sarili naming roadmap. And we'll be presenting it to the public. This series of consultations is also set to build up towards the upcoming SONA of the President and the FY 2019 budget submission to Congress on July 2018. Ayan po. So ito yung listahan ng ating dialogue. So we have 2 for each island region. We're now kicking off with Bacolod. Our next stop is Jensan next week. Then we have Zamboanga, Manila, Baguio, and Tacloban. So ito na po yung pinaka-extensive at pinakamalaki naming series of dialogue so far. So thank you po for attending today's activity. Now, in the past 6 years, malapit na po akong matapos. The Philippines has proven to be a global leader in implementing reforms on good governance. Testament to these are the international recognition gained by several open government initiatives of the country. Just earlier nga po, what I shared with you, we are now considered to be the most fiscally open country in Asia. And aside from this, we have received recognition from the international community on relevant programs such as the grassroots participatory budgeting, the citizen participatory audit, the extractive industries transparency initiative, the seal of good local governance, and the ease of doing business, among others. More recently also, the Philippines has become the first country to be in the world to be assessed as compliant to international extractive industries transparency standards. Citizens also hold government directly accountable through the 8888 hotline launched by the President in August 2016. The executive order on freedom of information is also currently being implemented across the bureaucracy, and I think ASECRIS is here also to encourage our local leaders to adopt FOI ordinances at the local level po. We are also piloting now the open legislation initiative in 3 provinces, namely Albay, Bohol, and Surigao del Norte. Through today's forum, we continue to demonstrate our strong commitment to good governance by weaving the open government narrative to our participatory governance cluster mechanisms and other national plans and policies of government. Now, to conclude, I would like to reiterate our invitation to our local and regional partners to be part of OGP, to be part of PGC, and other related efforts of government to promote transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement, and of course, to leverage technology for better governance. Let's start by actively participating in all of our sessions slated for today and tomorrow, especially in the crafting of our 6-year PGC roadmap. So, from 2017 to 2022. We always say that OGP is a global effort to make to make government better. But to achieve this goal, we must ensure that these efforts are localized and institutionalized at the grassroots also. And key actors here in regional development, as key actors in regional development, you will play an important role in ensuring that OGP and participatory governance principles and efforts are likewise adopted and institutionalized at the subnational level. So thank you very much po. That ends my presentation.
Thank you, Marianne. After the first input, we will proceed to our first breakout session. We will flash on our screen the breakout groups. There you go. Our first breakout session on the PGC Roadmap Phase 2 proposed initiative. So on the screen are your groupings. We will not be transferring to a separate breakout rooms for these sessions. We will only break out into 4 groups. And we will rearrange ourselves in this room. So we will have 4 groupings. Our group will be, group 1 will be assigned here. Group 1, 2, 3, and 4. No, so we will have facilitators for the breakout session. Our facilitators are assigned per group who will explain the mechanics of the workshop. So after the workshop, we will stay in this room. We will use our time until we will break for lunch. No, so we will use between this time until our lunch time for the breakout session. So for our groups, please check